Which is a good alternative instead of having one zero-argument constructor and one single-argument constructor with default argument? A. No constructor defined. B. One default value constructor. C. Defining the default constructor. D. Using one constructor with two arguments. Correct answer B. One default value constructor. The constructor with one default argument can be the best alternative. This is because the constructor with one default value will do the work for both the default constructor and one argument constructor. Which among the following is a mandatory condition for downcasting? A. It must not be done explicitly. B. It must be done implicitly. C. It must be done explicitly. D. It can't be done explicitly. Correct answer C. It must be done explicitly. The downcasting of any object must be done explicitly. This is because the compilers don't support the implicit conversion of a supertype to subtype. Default arguments are dash. A. Only allowed in the parameter list of the function declaration. B. Only allowed in the return type of the function declaration. C. Only allowed with the class name definition. D. Only allowed with the integer type values. Correct answer A. Only allowed in the parameter list of the function declaration. The default arguments are only allowed in the parameter list of the function arguments. This rule was not applicable in the beginning versions of C++, but later from C++ 14th version it has been implemented. This is the only way to use default arguments. Which among the following is true for upcasting in inheritance? A. Downward to the inheritance tree. B. Upward to the inheritance tree. C. Either upward or downward. D. Doesn't apply on inheritance. Correct answer B. Upward to the inheritance tree. The upcasting concept in inheritance is always applied upward the inheritance tree. The derived class objects can be typecasted to any of its parent class type. Since is a relationship applies in general inheritance. Which constructor definition will produce a compile time error? A. Class name, int x equal to 0. B. Class name, char c. C. Class name, int x equal to 0, char c. D. Class name, char c, int x equal to 0. Correct answer C. Class name, int x equal to 0, char c. The default arguments, just like with member functions, must be listed at last in the argument list. Hence this will produce a compile time error. The compiler doesn't allow the definition to be executed. If a function have all the default arguments but still some values are passed to the function, then dash. A. The function will use the values passed to it. B. The function will use the default values as those are local. C. The function can use any value whichever is higher. D. The function will choose the minimum values. Correct answer A. The function will use the values passed to it. The function will use the values passed explicitly to it. The default values will be ignored. The default values are used only in case the values are not passed explicitly to the function. Why is downcasting possible in any language? A. Because inheritance follows has a relationship. B. Because inheritance follows is a relationship. C. Because inheritance doesn't follow any relationship. D. Because inheritance is not involved in casting. Correct answer B. Because inheritance follows is a relationship. The downcasting is possible because the classes in inheritance follow is a relationship. Hence the derived class is a base class, which in turn make the downcasting possible. Which among the following is true? A. More than one constructors with all default arguments is allowed. B. More than one constructors with all default arguments can be defined outside the class. C. More than one constructors can be used with same argument list. D. More than one constructors with all default arguments can't exist in same class. Correct answer D. More than one constructors with all default arguments can't exist in same class. The constructors must have different argument list. Along that, if all the arguments are default arguments, there can't be more than one constructor like that in the same class, as that will create ambiguity while constructors are being called. Which property is shown most when upcasting is used? A. Code reusability. B. Code efficiency. C. Complex code simple syntax. D. Encapsulation. Correct answer C. Complex code simple syntax. The code written using upcasting mostly shows complex code in simpler syntax features. This is because the upcasting concept can be applied as polymorphism and to group the similar type of objects. If a constructors should be capable of creating objects without argument and with arguments, which is a good alternative for this purpose? A. Use zero argument constructor. B. Use constructor with one parameter. C. Use constructor with all default arguments. D. Use default constructor. Correct answer C. Use constructor with all default arguments. The constructor should use all the default arguments. This will allow the constructor to be called even if no arguments are passed. And if arguments are passed, those will be accepted instead of the default values. Which constructor among the following will be called if a call is made like class name 5 and A? A. Class name int x equal to 5, char c equal to A. B. Int class name int x, char c, char d. C. Class name int x, char c, int y. D. Char class name char c, int k. Correct answer A. Class name int x equal to 5, char c equal to A. The syntax given is passing two parameters to the constructor call. One value is of integer type and another of character type. Hence the constructor with arguments of int and char type should be called. There is only one option that first accepts integer value and then a character value. Hence that constructor will be called. What are default arguments? A. Arguments which are not mandatory to be passed. B. Arguments with default value that aren't mandatory to be passed. C. Arguments which are not passed to functions. D. Arguments which always take same data value. Correct answer B. Arguments with default value that aren't mandatory to be passed. The arguments which are assigned with some default value. Since some value is already given, it is not mandatory to pass those arguments. They can be used directly. Which among the following is safe? A. Upcasting. B. Downcasting. C. Both upcasting and downcasting. D. If upcasting is safe then downcasting is not, and vice versa. Correct answer A. Upcasting. The upcasting is always safe since the derived type or the smaller type is converted into the base type or the larger size. This results in allocating a smaller size data into bigger type data. No data is lost in casting, hence safe. Downcasting dash. A. Can result in unexpected results. B. Can't result in unexpected result. C. Can result only in out-of-memory error. D. Can't result in any error. Correct answer A. Can result in unexpected results. The result of downcasting can be unexpected. This is because downcasting is done on the objects into the objects which doesn't contain any information of data in lateral object. Which is the correct statement for default constructors? A. The constructors with all the default arguments. B. The constructors with all the null and zero values. C. The constructors which can't be defined by programmer. D. The constructors with zero arguments. Correct answer D. The constructors with zero arguments. The closest answer to the question is that a default constructor is a constructor with zero arguments. But this is not the actual case. Actually, the constructors provided by the compiler are default constructors. And the constructors with zero arguments defined by the programmer are zero-argument constructors. Which among the following is false for default arguments? A. Those are not allowed with a declaration of pointer to functions. B. Those are not allowed with the reference to functions. C. Those are not allowed with the type definite declarations. D. Those are allowed with pointer and reference to function declaration. Correct answer D. Those are allowed with pointer and reference to function declaration. The statements given are true because that is a feature given to make the programming more flexible and have some security with accidental changes at same time. The last option is false because it is not a rule defined. It is an opposite statement to the rules defined for default arguments. Which among the following is the best situation to use upcasting? A. For general code dealing with only subtype. B. For general code dealing with only supertype. C. For general code dealing with both the supertype and subtype. D. For writing a rigid code with respect to subtype. Correct answer B. For general code dealing with only supertype. When a general code has to be written where we use only the supertype object or the data of bigger size, then upcasting would be the best option. Since the whole code will require only the supertype name references. Downcasting is dash. A. Always safe. B. Never safe. C. Safe sometimes. D. Safe depending on code. Correct answer B. Never safe. The downcasting concept is made for exception cases. When there is a need to represent an entity in the form which is not suitable for it. Representing a base type in derived type is not right but can be done for special cases. How many parameters must be passed if only the following prototype is given to a constructor? Prototype class name int x, int y, int z equal to 0. A 1, B 2, C 3. D compile time error. Correct answer B 2. In the prototype given, only 2 arguments are mandatory. Since the third argument is default argument, so it is not mandatory to pass the argument. If a member function has to be made both zero argument and parameterized constructor, which among the following can be the best option? A. 2 normal and 1 default argument. B. At least 1 default argument. C. Exactly 1 default argument. D. Make all the arguments default. Correct answer D. Make all the arguments default. All the arguments must be made default. This will make sure that none of the arguments are mandatory to be passed. which in turn means that the function can work without any argument and can be passed with arguments too. If class C inherits class B and class B inherits class A, class C object can be upcast to object of class B only. B, class C object can be upcast to object of class A only. C, class C object can be upcast to object of either class A or B. D, class C object can't be upcast. Correct answer C, class C object can be upcast to object of either class A or B. Both class A and B are parent classes of class C. Class C object hence can be upcast to any of those class objects. It is not compulsory to upcast to nearest parent. If dynamic cast fails, which value is returned? A. Void. B. Null. C. Void pointer. D. Null pointer. Correct answer D. Null pointer. The null pointer is returned by the dynamic cast if it fails. The conversion sometimes fails because of too complex type conversion. The conversion may also fail due to memory or some related issues. Can a class have more than one function with all the default arguments? A. Yes, always. B. Yes, if argument list is different. C. No, because constructors overloading doesn't depend on argument list. D. No, never. Correct answer D. No, never. A single class can never have more than one's constructor with all the default arguments. This is because it will make all those constructors as a default constructor. And when an object is created with 0 arguments, then it will create ambiguity. The names given to the default arguments are only looked up and dash and are bound during declaration. A. Checked for availability. B. Checked for random access. C. Checked for accessibility. D. Checked for feasibility. Correct answer C. Checked for accessibility. The names given to the default arguments are bound at time of declaration but are only checked for accessibility and to get bounded. This is mainly to bind those members during declaration. If multiple inheritance is implemented, which upcasting will be correct? A. Upcast to first base class listed in inheritance. B. Upcast to send base class listed in inheritance. C. Upcast to any base class. D. Upcast is not possible. Correct answer C. Upcast to any base class. The upcasting of derived class object is possible to any base class. This is because the base class object can represent any of its derived classes using upcasting.